Welcome back, everyone. Welcome, Marcin Dakowski, who is our next speaker. And Marcin will talk about shaping the product team, but not too much. So the stage is yours. You will have 15 minutes. After that, maybe you'll have like 1 minute to answer the questions. So guys, feel free to ask them in the stage chat.
Good. Hi, guys. It's really great to be here with you. It's also a bit strange. I don't know, I cannot see you, I cannot hear you. But I hope everything's fine, and Martina would told me if otherwise. The truth is, we had some technical issues with my presentation, so I will not be able to share it, but I still hope it will be okay with you. My name is Marcin Dakowski, and currently I'm with eBilet.pl, which is like online ticketing platform here in Poland, but I'm just here for the last 3 or 4 days, so it's very, very fresh to me. For the last 4 years, I was with OLX Group. OLX Group is all about classifieds, so like Craigslist or Gumtrees or this kind of stuff. I was responsible for monetization of OLX and for OLX Jobs, which is like a job board we had in the group, but also for Fixly, Fixly.pl, which was about services, so you can order someone to help you with refurbishment of your house, for instance. So when you think about my profile, I think it's a mix of product manager and general manager, I would say. But I'm biased towards leadership and then team management, I would say. This is the closest to my heart. And thus the title of this speech, which is shaping the team, but not too much, or shaping the product team, but not too much. Because actually I believe that most of the things I'll be talking to you about today is you can apply it to product team, but it can be also applied to some other teams as well. So basically the idea is that, when you put your hands together and you just, you have something inside, you just want to have your hands quite firm, so whatever is inside won't drop. But on the other hand, you just don't want to, put them too tight because you will squeeze it and, whatever is inside will basically die. And this is how I think about leadership to a large extent. I encourage you to think of leadership as, as maybe I would encourage you to think of a leader as someone who is a host of a space, someone who takes care of a space, who is shaping the space. Because, the bigger and bigger the team you have, it's less, of course, important what you do operationally. It's more and more important, what's the space? Again, I'll be using this word over and over again. What's the space you are building, joint space for you, but also for your team, that everyone feel good about. So when I think about my team members, I read it the other day and I really like it, so I'll quote it to you. It's like someone told me that his idea of leadership is like when your team member is waking up, he thinks, great, I'm going to work. I know what I'm going to do today, and I've got some great ideas about how do I do it really well, and I'm looking forward to seeing the team and helping them doing the good job. So, on one hand, it sounds really obvious, at least, I think it should sound quite obvious to most of us. But is it the way we think or we feel every morning when we wake up? If that's your case, that's great. But is it? And when you think of your team members, you try to imagine you get in their shoes. Would you believe that this is what they think about the work they are doing? And do you, as a team leader, do you do as much as you can to create such a space so they can really feel this way? So some might ask why it's important at all, and the answer I like the most is like, because it's great, because we just want to work for places which are great. We want to work in spaces which are great. And nobody wants to work for a shitty space, basically. But if you need more, just fine. There is like plenty of research that, the quality of space people work in and how they feel in the team and in the company, it affects, number of ideas they have and the range of innovation and, cooperation, quality of cooperation, pace, effectiveness. You would have smaller rotation in your team if you have a good space. You will have less conflicts. You will have smaller number of absences. And, for some, it's the most important thing. you will have, in the end of the day, better results and more money, if this is what you are in business for. So whichever answer is the best for you, and it can be ranging from I just like cool space to I want to earn money, is I believe that creating the space is the most important thing for us as leaders. And I really believe that we should spend more time. I think that I think that I'm quite aware how important it is, and I still find myself to spend not enough time on that, not as much as I would like to. And how do you do that? How do you create this space? And there's of course no single answer to that, but there are some good questions or good points you can ask yourself to check if you are creating such a space. So I have 10 points, and I will share with you, and let's discuss later if you have any questions. So first one is, I would say, quite obvious, or it should be obvious, but then working with different startups and companies, I don't see it that obvious. It's like basically the direction. It can be a vision, or it can be a North Star, however you call it. But do your team members really understand the direction you are heading to? It's like the most leaders I talk to, they say, of course, my team is fully aware of where we are going to. But it's not necessarily the case. I have this experience from several months ago when I was working with two co-founders in one of the companies. And they say, of course, we all understand where we are going to. So we just invited everyone to one room. We just gave pieces of paper, and everyone was supposed to write it down. And then they just left it on the desk, and I stayed in the room with the founders, and we started to read it. And the answers were really different. So even if you think that everyone is really aligned or in direction, just think about it and maybe check it. Even if you have only one person in your team, maybe just spend some time and sit and say, look, John, Jack, Martha, where do you think we are going? Is it clear to you? Are you excited about it? When you think about direction, then the second step for me, number 2, is goal. Because direction is, it's a bit visionary. It can be a bit fluffy. You cannot really measure it. Goal is something that you can measure. It's more specific, and most of all, it's like helps you answer the question: how do we know that when we have the success, if we achieve what we wanted to achieve? How do we know that? Like, which number will tell us about it? For example, when I was doing Fixie and it was all about services, this one metric that everyone was looking at was number of stars. And stars were basically reviews from clients, from satisfied or dissatisfied clients. And the number of the stars was something that everyone in the team was looking at. So make sure it's not only about vision, it's also about goals that you can measure. Third thing is like, okay, we have direction and we have goals. And we need to make sure that this is not bullshit, basically. Because in most companies, it is bullshit. It's like more and more companies actually see the need to have a goal, and they see the need to have direction. But most of the time, they just put it on the wall, and they really, they hardly get back to it. And I believe it's not about having direction and goal. It's more about using it day to day. So when you are taking decisions, you are backing it up with the vision and the goal you have. When you talk to the team, you're using it. When you have, weekly stand-ups or meetings or town halls, whatever, you relate to it. So people understand that this is not something that we just created and you never get back to it, but this is something that we did. And then when you have these 3 things, you can move to personal goals, because when you have goals, it's also important for the people to understand what is their personal goal. So how they're going to impact this big goal, this big number we are all working for. So using this Fixie example again, it's like when we had one girl who was responsible for traffic. Her goal was to bring as many people to the site as possible, right? Because this was something that helped us to have as many stars as possible. This was like a part of the road, but she was responsible for that. Someone else was responsible for making sure that the conversion from traffic, from visits or unique users would be good towards the start, because it's another phase of the process. Some people were working in a customer service and they were working with service providers, and they were also responsible that their service providers, their key account managers too, would receive a lot of stars. So they would actually be incentivized to talk to the users, to the clients, and ask for stars, because this is how we could affect this number as well. So it's important that everyone in the team really understands what's their part in this big goal. Because if you tell everyone that they have the same goal and they don't know what exactly is the part in it, it'll be quite difficult for them to execute. Next thing is, how do we operate and how do we communicate? I work with quite many, startups and companies, and in most of them, it's not really kind of, set up. It's not regulated in any way. And I'm not saying that you should write it down and there should be some very clear rules, but people should understand, what they can do, what they cannot do, how they communicate, what decisions they can make, all this kind of stuff. So think, if you have it in your team, again, it's like our tendency would be to say, yeah, of course we have it, but can you double check it for me? If you can really check if this is something that is working well in your team or in your company, depends on, what level in the company you are at. Number 6 for me is values. So what we believe in. And again, it's important that it's not something that you write on a poster on a wall. It's something that you believe in and you really work on a daily basis. It's like a friend of mine told me one day that basically for most companies, values is something that they will never have, in a way that they actually write on this poster or they write on this wall all the things that they would like to be able to tell about themselves, but it's not really true. So are you not one of these companies? Because I would say that quite often I found myself that we had some values and we are not really enforcing them. For example, for Fixly, just to give you also this positive example, one of the values was courage. And after 2 years working with my team, I decided to go for 2-month holidays. And I didn't take my phone with me and I didn't take my email with me. I wasn't using it. And I think it was quite courageous, what I did actually, that I just left them and they were working by themselves. But I think what they have done was even more courageous. When I came back, actually they developed already an app for users. And for months, I was saying, guys, it's too early for us to have an app. It doesn't make sense. But then when I left, they've done it. When I came back, they said, look, you weren't there to prevent us from doing it. Now we have it. And actually, it appeared to be really great success in the end of the day. So I was happy that they were courageous. Feedback is something I really care about. And I don't see so much of it happening, being honest. It's like, imagine you ask someone to run like a marathon and you close their eyes and you don't give them any feedback regarding the competition or path, that are they on track, are they doing good job or bad job, this kind of stuff. It's like, please spend as much time as possible with your team on feedback. It can be ad hoc, it can be regular, but just double check with yourself or ask your people, do they believe that they get as much feedback as they really need? Point 8 is something quite difficult for me. It is celebrating. I'm more kind of a guy who is running and just pushing. I want more results and better numbers and stuff. And actually, many managers are this way. And it's part of who we are. But also, it's important to remember it's not only always about running. It's also about staying in place and just being happy and appreciating the moment and appreciating the fact that we are doing a great job. It's really important for the teams. And check with yourself, aren't you a bit like myself, that you just forget about it? Maybe write in your calendar every second week, have we celebrated something? Because it's really important for people to have it. It doesn't matter if it's a product team or customer service team or sales team or whatever team you're running currently. Last 2 points is, one of them is safety. It's like, I read it in a book, and I really like it, that the company who wants to grow, it's all about safety. And it's this condition in which people, your team members basically, feel that they are included, that they are safe to learn, that they are safe to contribute, to act, and that they are safe to challenge the status quo without being embarrassed. And this is what I've learned a lot, because I used to be this guy who was challenging a lot in front of others and giving feedback in front of others. And I don't think I was giving too much, this safety that I'm providing the teams with right now. So check. What's your approach towards that? Are you really giving people the space to learn, but also to act, and most importantly, to challenge? And the last thing for me is impact. Is like I have this personal KPI for myself when I'm working with teams, and this is to take as little decisions as possible. As little decisions as possible. I think that most of people, or like many people, believe that being a leader is taking lots of decisions. I think that being a good leader is about taking as little decisions as possible, and actually giving as much space to people for them to take these decisions. Actually, this is again about this not squeezing too much. It's actually, having some structure, of course, people need it, but also having the space, giving them the space to take decisions, right? Think of it, which of the decisions you could just, get rid of, let it go, and, go to work next day and think, till today, I was taking all these decisions, but now it's time for you to start taking these decisions. And I would like to end with this metaphor that I really like. I have this observation, I read it in a book and I really liked it. It's like, I think that most of the companies are run in a form of crossroads. It's like when you think of a leader who's staying in the middle of a crossroad, and he has this button with, traffic lights, green lights and red lights, and he decides who's entering the crossroad, who's going out of the crossroad. He is basically taking all decisions, if you understand the metaphor, right? And what I really believe is that if you want to create the space and shape the team, but not shape it too much, you could maybe think more of it as a roundabout rather as a crossroad. Because in a roundabout, you can also stay in the middle of the thing, but you are not standing in the way of anyone. And the role is more about seeing this roundabout, seeing how people are entering, how people are leaving the roundabout, how they interact on the roundabout, and spend as much time as you can shaping this roundabout, but not really, being too operational with that. Thank you, guys. It was really a pleasure, and I'm looking forward to questions.
Thank you very much, Marcin. I think what you were saying was really relevant to the business that we have here in TX Group, right? All those classifieds and marketplaces platforms. And I cannot see any questions right now. Okay. Maybe it's because we are announcement of the tournament during the day right now. So probably people just left to see that, but still your talk would be recorded. And I hope there will be engagement afterwards as well. And maybe some questions coming afterwards, because it was really interesting and inspiring, I need to say. Actually, there is one question. Do you have specific suggestions to improve the team's feeling while being remote?
Yeah, it's a question that gets back to me every time in this situation. I think it's a bit about what I said before. It's about staying in the moment for a while and try to be empathetic and imagine how these people feel when they're at home, because they are dispersed. They used to have a community, and now they have this kind of community, but it's weaker than before, right? So they need a leader even more. They need to understand direction even more. They need to understand the goals even more. They need to get more feedback, but also, it's even more important for you to act actively to create this space I was talking about, to shape it, right? So I don't think that, there are lots of, ideas. You can do this, you can do that, you can make, a meeting when people are not talking about work, this kind of stuff. I think it's really valid. But in the end of the day, you just, need to spend even more time on this thing, because people would need it right now more than they used to in normal situation.
Very much, Marcin, for your answer. We had some other questions, but to be honest, we cannot dedicate more time for answering them. But please,
I will stay on the chat. So if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer.
Exactly, guys. I encourage you to connect, because we have options how to do that. You can have a private chat with Marcin, It's very easy to organize, to actually set it up. Just go to chat and direct messages. And for now, thank you very much.
Thank you.
See you around. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.